Well, staying in Kenya, confusion reigns on Monday following Friday's political maneuver by President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. They baffled their allies and the nation with a surprise meeting. The two most powerful political figures in the East African nation promised to unite the country. There has been tension in Kenya following last year's disputed elections. To get a sense of what all this could mean for Kenya's immediate political future, David Monda, political analyst and professor at City University of New York, joins me live from our studios in New York. Hello, David.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Not so bad. Now, tell us, this announcement, this meeting and announcement by the two leaders, in fact, left everybody completely confused. Does it make sense to you that they could do it without consulting with the other members of their coalitions?
I think it makes a lot of sense to me because on one hand, the two major political actors realized that they each individually have about half of the country's support. So whereas the Jubilee administration could continue to govern, it was particularly difficult for them to advance their policies forward. On the other hand, the NASA coalitions in the opposition, but it was also fairly futile for them to continue down the path of creation of people's assemblies and mass action and demonstrations on the streets. So ultimately, it really bodes well for the two sides to come together and to bring the country together in terms of advancing the agenda forward.
But given that it doesn't seem like other members of the coalition on both sides were involved, does it mean that perhaps this is a totally different arrangement as opposed to the arrangement within NASA as a political coalition?
Well, I think you can look at it in several ways. Fundamentally, this had to be an agreement between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, because the more actors you had at the table, the higher the likelihood for stalling of the negotiations and for confusion. So it was really important to sort of have a one-on-one between the two principals. And you will notice that the agreement, the backdoor negotiations moving forward are going to be conducted by the personal lawyers of Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. So politically, it's really thrown the country in a very interesting space, whereby on the opposition side, a lot of Raila Odinga's partners are very confused in terms of what exactly the agreement he has with the president will be. And also on the side of the Jubilee coalition, there are the president's supporters who are also baffled in terms of exactly what kind of negotiation and agreement will come out. So going forward, it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what kind of agreement will come forward. Will it be an agreement between these two individuals for a political show, or ultimately will it be a fundamental change in terms of electoral reform, reform of the judiciary, and wider issues about reforms within the police force and upholding the rule of law?
But essentially this means Mr. Raila Odinga recognizes Kenyatta as a legitimate president, or acceptable at the moment, but also the fact that they have suspended some of their actions like the People's Assembly. Does this show that perhaps there's going to be a collaboration with the opposition in the government moving forward?
Well, I guess only time will tell. It's a good thing on the opposition side that they've decided to suspend their moves with the People's Assembly and also with mass action for demonstrations on the street. On the part of the government, it's good to see that they are actually interested in some form of negotiation, because the government position for a long time has been that they are emphasizing development issues and they do not want to talk about politics until 2022. But again, essentially, the wider issues of the mess that happened with the elections in 2017 is really highlighted exactly what kind of electoral reforms will come forward and what kind of negotiations will be advanced in terms of reforming the judiciary and the police service in order for us to have a stable election in 2022.
And definitely we're going to see some realignments of alliances there. Professor Monda, I want to thank you very much for your insights today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, David Monda is an analyst and professor at City University of New York.